Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Archie's live broadcast. This is episode number 5. In our previous episodes, we talked about AI and a lot of technologies in AI, like generative models and neural nets. But today, we're doing something different. Today, we're talking about artificial intelligence, but in the context of user experience. Joining me in this conversation, I have Abhishek, Senior UX Engineer for Archie.ai. And Abhishek is based in New York, and he flew into San Francisco yesterday. So we're very lucky to have him for this conversation. So Abhishek, can you help us understand? Can you help us understand a little bit more about how does AI affect user experience or UX?
Okay, but before we even start with that, I would like to tell you what UX actually is. So user experience is basically when user interacts with any product, be it opening a door or calling for an Uber from an application. So the entire experience that user has, it's more about that and how you can improve that. And when it comes to artificial intelligence, it's basically machines mimicking the human intelligence.
So yeah, AI is essentially machines mimicking humans.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how user experience is affected?
I can see when I see artificial intelligence and user experience, I see two categories. So one is improving the user experience, the existing user experience based using the artificial intelligence, and there's new category which has just started, which is based on artificial intelligence. That is chatbots and voice commands. That's it.
Okay, so just to recap on that, when you think about UX and AI, there are two categories. The first category is when you use artificial intelligence to optimize the existing user experience. And the second category is a whole new category of user experiences, powered by natural language. That's when we're able to communicate with machines the same way we would communicate with a human, which is pretty cool. So
I would say, for an example, to make it understand more better, look at Lyft or Uber. So you take Uber every day to work. So one day there's a heavy traffic on the road due to something. So you'll just get a notification 15 minutes prior to your regular time saying, oh, there's a lot of traffic, you should leave right now, or you'll get leave for your meeting. So that is using artificial intelligence to make it work. Or the YouTube recommendations. So when you go to YouTube, you look at all of the recommendations that are based on your interest. So that is because of artificial intelligence.
So as a user on YouTube, I'm not specifically saying anything.
Yeah.
However, YouTube is able to look at my viewage and accordingly personalize the experience. And in Uber's case, proactively engage me in their current user experience using artificial intelligence to predict user behavior.
Yeah, it's just like a new evolution.
Yeah, but you know what's really interesting is these new categories of user experience, which are powered by natural language, that allow you to actually talk to a machine the same way you would talk to a human. And this is what I usually think of when I think of artificial intelligence because of movies, maybe. When I watch movies like Iron Man and I see Jarvis, or I watch Ex Machina, you know, I associate natural language with voice. It's almost, with artificial intelligence and voice, it's almost synonymous with each other. But, you know, as a business, you have so many options, I guess. You have so many different opportunities. I can engage them across all these different UX channels, these new opportunities, or improve my existing channels. How do I think about which one is most important, and how do I prioritize what I work on?
Yeah, so before talking about the choices that a business has to make, I would like to touch up more about the evolution that happened.
Okay.
So back in 90s, the website just had like a plain text and a background, right?
Right.
And they improved. They added images, media, then they had payments and everything happening. Then it went from websites to mobile applications. So mobile applications, you could have the functionality of any business on your phone and you can access it from anywhere. Now we have chatbots. So you just type in a text and you can get things done. So that's just reducing the friction between the technology and humans.
Right. And with this evolution, I guess there's some confusion for a business, right?
Yes.
So how does a business use some of these new user experience opportunities?
Okay, so when it comes to that, you should first need to know that you have to improve user's experience.
Can you give me an example?
Okay, that should be a priority. So look at our Archie's website and stuff. So what we do is we help make businesses and decision makers better decisions, right?
Okay.
So our onboarding process, it was quite lengthy and tedious.
Okay.
So what we did was we introduced the chat interface for the onboarding thing to make it easier, and it's working.
It's working really well. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we introduced Archie Voice, and what Archie Voice does it's just like your assistant, but you can access it from anywhere, anytime. It stays with you all the time.
Right.
And
that's kind of where we were going with, right? Like we wanted people to associate Archie with a new member in their office, right? Someone they can talk to about their data, send them emails, etc. So having that ability to talk to that person like a human using voice, messages, emails was very important to us.
Exactly.
And that's why we created that UX for Archie.
Yes. And then we have the dashboard to have the graphical interface.
For deeper
all the graphs and stuff. We added Jeopardy to train your own artificial intelligence bot. So that is one of the examples when you talk about businesses looking at user experience.
And let's say, okay, besides from Archie, let's say I'm a business and I'm evaluating all these different opportunities. What are some of the things I should consider and think about before I pick which channel I should use?
Okay, so first, I guess you need to think about the user's intent. That is the purpose, right? So first, when you know the user intent, that is the most important thing. Then you focus on.
I just want to touch on intent. When you talk about intent, you don't mean just intent, right? Like, can you explain a little bit more? What does intent mean in the context of artificial intelligence and natural language classifiers?
Okay, so whenever a user puts in an input or communicates with you as a business, you should understand what user is trying to say. Like, you should figure it out and provide a solution which the user wants.
So essentially, when a user says something or they type something, it's like a text string or some data, and you need to train a classifier to understand what does the user want based on the data they're provided, be it some part of speech, be it some text, right?
Exactly.
And everything should be intent-based. Everything on your bot, everything on that user experience is helping that user complete that specific intent.
Yeah, so once you know the intent, you should know more about the key inputs that user is providing you with.
When you say key inputs, you mean the parameters that affect the output. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So when you have the intents and the key inputs, you work more on the later steps. That is, you design the flow and get everything ready. Then you have a prototype, you design it, and then you test it.
And how important is trust when building one of these natural language interfaces?
Okay, so when it comes to that, people don't actually trust machines.
Okay.
So when you talk to a voice command, right? You treat it as human, but you don't know that it doesn't have an emotion. Or say you go to an ATM machine, you withdraw say $10-20 bills. So you still go and count it after you withdraw it because we don't trust machines. You lock your car.
And you know what? You're right. After a certain amount of transaction size, I always do count those bills.
Yes.
And I think 100% of the time I've counted it.
It's right.
It has been accurate, yet I still count it.
It happens with everyone. You lock your car using a remote, you still check your door if it's locked or not. That's not.
So what are one of the ways we can enable trust within a user experience?
Okay, so we can try to make it much more human. Like you give it a voice, give it a shape or stuff. And then people will eventually start trusting the machine. It's the more of use.
I think a safe bet would be to have safeguards as well, right? So when you ask a question and the bot doesn't know the exact answer or the machine does not know exactly what the user means, you can have a safeguard that if the answer is not over 80% accuracy or 90% accuracy within the classifier, then we just wouldn't show the answer and we will tell the human, can you please help us clarify, or give them options to pick from it. I think that way you prevent that, you kind of sidestep that entire situation. Very cool. We've talked a lot about how artificial intelligence affects our existing user experiences to make it more personalized, to proactively engage the user, but also these new opportunities we have using voice and text. Where do you see this going in the future, right? How do you see user experience being affected by artificial intelligence in the future?
Okay, so right now what we are doing with artificial intelligence is we are having small communications. Let's say but in the future there would be like much longer communications and sophisticated communications.
Right.
Also, look
so like instead of having this back and forth that is really short, you can start having these much deeper and sophisticated conversations with the machine. And also long-form content is something I hear about a lot, and how AI can't create long-form content.
Yeah.
But as AI progresses, we'll be able to have deeper and richer conversations with users, right?
Yeah. Also, you can use in the future. You could be able to use AI to design UX. That is designing user experience using AI.
Okay.
So
it's almost like user versioning.
Yeah,
right?
It's like user versioning. What you can do is you can create customized templates for all your clients based on their interests to give more value to your product.
Awesome.
Also, I mean, I'm sure you must have heard of Elon Musk Foundation, right?
Are you talking about Neuralink?
Yes.
The new company by Elon Musk?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what Neuralink does is you can communicate with the technology, but not by your phone or your laptop or something. You just think about it and it happens. It's like you say if you want to have coffee, so you just think about coffee and your coffee will be ready at the coffee machine.
Isn't that amazing when you think about it? So I think a few months ago, Elon Musk announced a new company called Neuralink, where they create brain-machine interfaces. So literally like a wizard hat someone would wear, and you would communicate with the machine using thoughts. So that would be a completely new medium we have not ever done before. And I think that would be the biggest change in how humans will interact with machines. But right now, in the last few months, we've seen a lot of advances in conversational capabilities of machines.
Also, I mean, designing for the Neuralink, it could be challenging at the same point because no one had ever thought about it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we had a good conversation about how artificial intelligence affects user experience. It affects existing user experiences, helps them become better. It also opens up the gateway to new user experiences powered by natural language. And when a company is building a user experience for their customers, they should think about what is that main intent that they're trying to solve. Once they've identified the intent and inputs, etc., do you have any recommendations for softwares they can use to put together something like this? A chat interface or a...
Okay, so I guess you can use Watson by IBM or API.ai by Google.
Okay.
So these are like good interfaces.
So these are platforms that you can use once you've identified what is your intent, what kind of user you're going to go after. You can use these platforms to create natural language user experiences for them. Very cool. So if anybody wants,
we have a question from a user, one of the viewers.
Okay.
And the viewer is asking, how drastically would UX increase new signups?
Oh, I think that's a great question.
Okay, so yeah, exactly. So your user experience is the main thing when it comes to your product. Alright, so I'll explain it to you. So if you don't improve your user experience, your sign-up will decrease for sure. So look at it some way. So say there is Uber and there is Lyft, alright? So Lyft is using a better user experience and Uber is not. So people would obviously tend to incline towards Lyft because that is more comfortable and that is more helpful. So that if you improve your user experience, that is what matters the most.
So user experience is almost a competitive advantage when you have other players doing the same service as you. So whoever is able to delight the user when they interact with the user is going to get the business. And even if we talk about the really early stages of user experience, right? When someone is coming to the business for the very first time and they're seeing the site for the very first time, think about it. If it was a black block, they can't really do anything. So your onboarding success is going to plummet. And then you have a good description, you have clear CTAs or call to action buttons, you have good coloring, you A/B test it, and suddenly you have significantly increased your user experience and onboard success. However, after a certain point, it's diminishing utility. You can keep doing and fine-tuning things, but it's not really going to improve too much or significantly after a certain point. So it's important to A/B test and try out different things. But after a certain point, you have to focus on other high-impact tasks that will have a bigger effect on your onboarding experience.
Also, I mean, you can check out how some big companies like Twitter and Facebook or Google, they improve their sign-up rates by improving their user experience. So if you look at Twitter's login page, back in 2009, it was very weird and it had like different distractions. Compared to what it has now, it just has a sign up button and a small description. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a question. I just want to mention we have 35 people watching right now. Anyone has any questions, please feel free. I have a question, which is regarding how do you see the interfaces change in the future? Now we already have something like Google Voice. How much more advanced does it get?
Okay, as we talked about neural link, so when your mind actually communicates with the...
For the viewers joining us, I think you should explain Neuralink a little bit.
Okay. So Neuralink is a technology where the human being can interact with the other technologies.
But the machine.
Yeah, with the
using
machine.
your mind.
Yeah. So yeah, it's confusing. I'll do it again. So say you have to interact with the technology. So what do you do right now? You just use your phone or your computer or something. But in the future, you want to have a coffee. So you don't have to like open your Starbucks application. You just think about coffee and your coffee will be ready. So that is what happened at Neuralink.
Right.
And talking about Yash's question, so designing user interface for such kind of technology, it would be very exciting as well as challenging at the same time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And if I was to step back a little bit from the future and talk about maybe current user experiences that deal with voice, there are some technical considerations as well, right?
Yes.
For example, when we build our product, we have a core engine that produces a lot of these insights after analyzing the data, but it creates insights in natural language JSON format. That way, we're able to use API calls to transmit the information across a Google Home device, a Siri, like an Apple device, on chat interfaces on mobile apps using the same engine, and have natural language as the core data point. So it's easy to integrate and easy to expand.
Yes. I mean, when you talk about user experience, make your user experience so invisible that even your user who is visiting your website or application for the first time knows what exactly to do.
Awesome.
Without having any hints or something on it.
Yeah, it should be self-explanatory. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Really enjoyed having you here, Abhishek, and helping us understand artificial intelligence and how it affects user experience in today's world and in the future. If anyone has any questions about designing new user experiences, especially user experiences with natural language, please feel free to contact Abhishek, right?
Yeah, sure. You can contact me on abhishek@eurekakling.com, or you can just go to Archie's Medium page, that is archie.ai on Medium, and follow us there. We have a lot of good articles to read.
Awesome. And you'll be back next week on Monday. And I think we have another launch, so pretty excited about that. Thank you.